What started out as the love for a mother who had been diagnosed with cancer turned into a very successful, high quality nutrition company. Today, I'm interviewing the owner of Green Regimen, which is a health and fitness company that develops natural, organic, plant based products for optimal health. Tyshawn Bryant found his calling when his mother was diagnosed with cancer. He put her on a exclusive plant-based diet. Before he even started the company, she lost 50 pounds, reversed her cancer, and the rest, as they say, is history. Stick around because you're in for quite a treat as I talk with Tyshawn Bryant of Green Regimen.
Are you ready to live the life you deserve? Do you want to feel vibrantly healthy and reach your optimal weight without dieting while being kind to animals and the planet? Then you're in the right place at the right time. Welcome to Plant-Based Eating for Health with your host, certified plant-based nutritionist, Kathleen Gage.
So, Tyshawn, I am really interested in your story because I actually have been all over your website. I've been following you on social media. I've been stalking you. And it's kind of interesting because you have a great story of how you got involved in nutrition, sports nutrition, fitness. It was kind of by divine intervention. So let's start with that. You moved to LA how many years ago?
Wow. So first of all, thank you for having me on the show. This is definitely an honor, so I do appreciate it. So I moved to LA. Wow, it's been crazy. So in the end of 2000 is when I moved out here. I moved out here with some friends and didn't necessarily know exactly what we were going to do out here, but we just from Connecticut, and we've always seen California on television, but we said, all right, we're just going to give it a shot. The weather's nice. So we decided to move out here. It's just been awesome. Fantastic.
Well, when you moved out, from the research I did in our conversation previously, you moved out without any job prospects, without really any idea of what you were going to be doing, and you happened to get a job in a gym, and that kind of set you on a trajectory in life that really gave you your life's work.
Absolutely, yeah. So we, so two friends and I, we got an apartment in California, in LA. And I didn't have a car at the time and didn't even have a license, didn't even have a cell phone at the time. But my friends, they were my roommates, but they were my friends at the time. So they said, don't worry about it. We'll definitely help you out if you need ride to, if you need ride to a job or anything, no problem. So I was riding my bike one day because I bought a bike from a friend because I'm like, I have to get around somehow. And I saw this gym, 24-hour fitness. And I'm like, well, why not? I used to work out a little bit in college, but not as crazy as I work out now. So I said, why not give it a shot? So I walked inside and just asked for the manager, started talking to him. And I had about 2 interviews, but, he said, hey, you can have a job as a sales counselor. I said, okay, well, give it a shot. And that's how I was introduced to this health and fitness lifestyle for sure.
So what was the journey with you starting working in the sales division for a gym and probably doing training and moving into starting your own business, which is Green Regimen? Is that the proper way to pronounce your company name? Perfect.
You got
it. Okay. I always like when a man tells me I'm perfect. That's always a good thing. So with that in mind, how did you get from working for a fitness club to owning your own business and having an extremely successful nutrition company?
Yeah. So I started out in sales. And, I'm just kind of a personable guy. So I was, doing well in sales, but I noticed that, okay, there's trainers and the trainers are actually helping their clients with, different moves. And I would ask a lot of questions just because I wanted to know. And some of the trainers said, hey, well, why don't you start to work out with us? And, maybe you can learn some things. So when you're a sales counselor, that's pretty much all you focus on are sales and numbers, right? But I said, you know what? When I had some time off from work, I would work out with some of the trainers and I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. At the time, I didn't necessarily have like the best physique, but I figured, okay, well, there's one way for me to kind of get that, right? So I started working out. And it was actually a pretty cool experience because it opened up my world to, okay, there's a fitness side and then there's a nutrition side. And a lot of the trainers at that time, they just focused on the fitness side. But then I slowly started to learn that, okay, there's a nutritional component to all of this. And that might be a bigger percentage of your results than just working out. But the transition to my own business was very interesting because it wasn't something that I ever expected to have. When I was working at the gym, it was just a job to me. That's kind of what it was to me. And then when I started working out with some of the trainers and started learning some fitness tips, that was kind of more for me as well, because it was like, okay, well, now I'm starting to tighten up my body a bit, starting to see some muscles in places where I didn't prior, but it was really all for me. But the craziest thing happened. It was, wow, back in 2010, I got a call from my mom and she's talking to me and I could tell that there was something a little bit off in her voice. And she said, Ty, I have cancer. And when she said those words, I just remember I couldn't hear anything else for some time. And I'm like, okay, so what exactly is going on? And she began to tell me that she went to the doctor and, they were concerned about one of the scans that they did. So she had a biopsy and they found some cancerous cells. So she needed to have emergency surgery. So as I said, I moved out to California with some friends, but I grew up an only child. So all I have is my mom. So being in LA, I flew back to Connecticut and I immediately started talking to some of the doctors because I wanted to know, okay, well, I've heard of cancer before, but it doesn't really, just like with most things as being a human, they don't really hit you. They don't really affect you as much until it's affecting yourself or
Right.
someone that you love, like your mom.
Be sure to leave a rating and review of the show. And if you're looking for more visibility, be sure to download my free guide on how to increase your influence. It's called The Influencer's Guide. Simply go to veganvisibility.com/influencer. That's veganvisibility.com/influencer. Now, back to the show.
So after speaking to her doctors, I realized, wow, when it comes to this cancer thing, nobody really knows what to do. So I said, all right, well, we have a very small amount of time between the frame of time where she's going to have her surgery and then also her recovery. So I said, all right, well, I started doing some research. I just remember sitting on the couch, and just reading and also looking online and doing searches. And I kept coming across in all of the queries, plant-based eating, because I was trying to figure out, okay, what kind of foods can I give her to help her prepare for the surgery, but also once the surgery is done, to maybe somehow, like I said, I didn't know what I was doing, but I figured, okay, maybe I could give her something that would help either eliminate this cancer or somehow block the cancer from growing. And what continuously was returned in those queries was plant-based nutrition, phytonutrients from green leaves. Now, prior to that, I wasn't necessarily a big greens eater for the most part. I mean, in college, I was probably the biggest, I was the biggest meat eater until I stopped eating meat that I ever did. So within the research though, and I was actually reading, I've never read this much, this much information in my life, but I knew that I had to do it for my mom. So I continuously came up and what I decided to do was I said, okay, I'm going to get a blender and we're going to make green smoothies because I knew if I could combine fruits and green leaves, kale, chard, spinach, that'll give her the most amount of micronutrients and phytonutrients in one serving. And I was thinking, okay, well, maybe this can help, with this cancer thing. Because again, and there was no way for me to find out or for me to learn anything that I could actually help her with, but I figured I had to just figure this out. So I just started making her smoothies. And initially the smoothies tasted horrible. Because if you ever thrown water and kale, and I just tried to mix that up thinking that would taste good. Bad idea, right? But slowly I started implementing some fruits and I started looking at a bunch of different recipes online. And I really started to make some really good tasting smoothies. And it was just me and her, during this time. She had her cancer removal surgery and now she was just rehabilitating. And I remember the doctor saying, well, we're not sure if the cancer is going to come back. Just do the best that you can. Right. And was that comforting to me? No. But I said to myself, doesn't matter. I'm going to do whatever I can. So I just stayed consistent, stay consistent on giving her green smoothies. I even changed her meals, all plant-based meals, and it was pretty. So since I was there with her every day, I didn't notice it as quickly, but friends would come by and take a look at her and, coworkers, and they would kind of pause and they say, wow, Mary, you're looking really good. I mean, your skin looks good and you look like you lost some weight. And she's like, yeah, well, Ty's just, feeding me this plant-based diet, making these green smoothies for me, and I'm just drinking. And it was pretty amazing. Between 2 to 4 months, she actually dropped 50 pounds. Even her doctor was just astonished. Now, obviously, she couldn't work out. And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, well, because I come from that fitness world, well, you have to work out in order to be able to lose weight. And she was able to do it basically on bed rest, but actually having a consistent plant-based diet.
Whoa.
So
That's an incredible story. And there's so much to unwrap there with some of the things that you said about that you've got the exercise side of things and you've got the nutrition side of things. And actually, I was out running this morning and a thought occurred to me that, we can do all the outward stuff, but until we go inward and we take care of our spiritual well-being and our nutritional well-being, it doesn't matter what we do on the outside. We can look good, but it's going to fall apart. And so really nutrition is the start of it all. And then when we start eating healthy, we feel like moving more. And so, a lot of people kind of reverse those. They say, oh, when I lose 10 pounds, then I'll start eating healthy. It's like, it doesn't work like that. But you also mentioned about your mom's skin looking good, that people were commenting on that. And I recently was thinking about teens who have a lot of acne. And whenever I go to the grocery store, I just pay attention to what people have in their cart and how they look. And is that a judgment? Yes, it is. And I am judging what they're eating. But I know for myself, once I went 100% plant-based vegan and I got rid of all the meat and dairy, the animal and dairy products, everything changed for me. And I was 64 when I went plant-based. And now with your mom, how is she doing today?
she's fabulous. She's
Wonderful.
also 100% plant-based as well. And she loves it. She actually loves the way she feels. And she talks to people and she lets them know, like, wow, this is what I eat. And, because it's one of those things where it depends on where you live. But, here in California, the plant-based thing is trendy. People know about it. But in Connecticut, it's not necessarily in your face as often, right? So when she's talking to people, they're like, oh, really? Like, you don't eat meat? Like, how do you survive? Then she says, well, Ty is also the same now. And, so it kind of gives her a little bit of credibility with the fact that she's
Right.
been, this long period of time. So,
Well, so how did you go from, giving her the smoothies and the greens and into starting your own business, the Green Regimen?
So with her coworkers and family members that would come over, they started asking for these recipes. Ty, what are the recipes? Because now she's losing weight, so you kind of want to get on board and try it yourself. So the first thing I did was I started a YouTube channel because I said to myself, I'll never forget how helpless I felt when my mom called me and told me that she had cancer, and I never wanted anyone else. I don't care if I know them or not. I don't want anyone else to ever have to feel
Right.
that type of just at a loss. So I created a YouTube channel and I started making green smoothies right in my kitchen. And from there, people were like, "Oh, these smoothies are great, but do you have a little something more convenient?" And then I said, "Okay, well, I think the most convenient way to give them this sort of optimal health bundle that I'm making here in these smoothies was to create a product." So and that's how Green Regimen was formed. And in order to create Green Regimen, I really had to, pretty much from helping my mom, it was all about my mom. And then after that, it's all about everyone else. So when I first started working at the gym, it was all about myself. So I actually had to just evolve as a person, realize that, this life that you live, you're here for a purpose.
Right.
And for me, my purpose is to help others. I was able to help my mom and I'm helping people now. And it's incredible. So much better than just caring about myself.
I love your story because it really aligns with a lot of what I've been really focusing on lately about the whole life purpose and, how things happen in life that we wouldn't design it that way, but God has designed it for us. And if we just are open to what's in front of us, and it could be God, universe, spirit, whatever people want to call their higher power, but, really going on that journey of being curious. It's like, okay, I'm here to serve. And you are so blessed to have your mom because my dad passed away from lung and brain cancer. And we got the call that my dad was really sick and he had to go and see an oncologist. And we went in, the whole family was there, my two sisters, myself, and my mother. My mom and dad had been married nearly 60 years by that point, and we went in to get the prognosis, and it turns out he had small cell lung cancer that had gone to his brain. He had lesions. The oncologist said that his brain was like Swiss cheese, and how he was even able to stand up is beyond me. But 4 weeks later, he passed on. So I didn't have that opportunity. And I really get that whole thing when they say it's cancer and you're like, okay, we're going to figure this thing out. But unfortunately, my dad was so far along that there was no reversing it. So you're very blessed to have your mom. And I'm curious, with your business, you've been recognized by CNN, I believe, by Men's Health, by you're a rock star out there doing your thing. How does your company and your greens differ from other companies out there?
So what I decided to do was, okay, so this is really important to know. As I was making the green smoothies for my mom, I knew that green smoothies were great for micronutrients, but not for macronutrients, which are proteins, fats, and carbohydrates.
Okay.
So they don't suffice for great meal replacements. So what I decided to do was I went to the store and I purchased the plant-based proteins that are on the market because I figured, okay, well, let's make this a great meal replacement for my mom. So I add in plant-based protein with her green smoothies, and they made her smoothies taste horrible, terrible. So I remembered that, and I said, okay, I can do better. I can most definitely do better. So I decided to. So by then I was a personal trainer at, prior to that with working at 24 Hour Fitness, I ended up getting my certification with personal training. So I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to create a plant-based protein that is a great optimal health meal replacement, but that can also be a multifunctional nutritional shake for those who want to have it as a post-workout shake. So my product differs, Elite Protein differs because we use hemp and pea protein as the complete amino acid profile plant-based protein complex. But then I wanted to add in those micronutrients, those superfoods that I use to help my mom recover, which is spirulina, maca, chia seed, no stevia, because that's one of those ingredients that people just can't stand. And so we use coconut water. So I really wanted to, and the biggest thing what customers really love, because it's one thing to have a product that's super healthy, but the thing is most customers won't continuously drink it if it doesn't taste good. And it took some time. I can't say that it was really quick, but it took some time to get the formulation in order. But I'm so happy that, I took the time to do that because it's quite delicious as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I want to remind people that you're listening to the Plant-Based Eating for Health podcast show. I'm Kathleen Gage, and I'm talking with Tyshawn Bryant with Green Regimen. And to find his information, just go to greenregimen.com. Is that correct?
That is perfect.
Oh,
perfect.
I hit the nail on the head. I love it. I love it. And we'll make sure to put that in the show notes along with your YouTube channel and all your socials. We'll make sure that people find you. Now, I'm curious, with your business, where do you see yourself in the big scheme of things 5, 10, 15 years down the road?
Yeah, so I really expect Green Regimen to be the official plant-based authority for health and nutrition. At this point, I would say that a lot of people think that the plant-based protein niche or the space is very, very saturated with a lot of different companies, and they are true with that. However, when it comes to actually having a personal connection with your customer, I mean, that's what Green Regimen has. You can email us any questions that you have, any questions. It doesn't necessarily have to be. A lot of questions we receive are not just about the protein, because we know people, they love the protein. But there's other aspects of health and nutrition that people are confused about. And that's the unfortunate part of, I guess, any sort of health and fitness movement. There's so many companies, and with all of the marketing, it just creates a mass amount of confusion. So we like to help out with some of that confusion by just letting people know, we can make things a little simpler by just being consistent, having a regimen, and actually following through with that. And you're going to see results. So that's it's one thing where you have to, it's not something where you can just have a good product.
Right.
You actually have to, or I guess not have to, you get to connect with customers and find out what they're looking for. So a part of being, the authority for health and nutrition, we actually want to be able to have a great community for Green Regimen. And we're actually going to start a community here pretty soon where we can really ask the customer, what are you looking for? What other parts of your day are you lacking in nutrition? Perhaps we can create a product to help you out with that, right? Because, a lot of people have, there's a lot of issues with some of the farming, what's going on currently, vegetables and, deforestation. And there's so many issues going on just with our supply food chain currently,
Right.
that we want to help people. We want to make sure that when people are looking for nutrition advice, they can see Green Regimen, whether they purchase our products or not. They'll understand that they'll actually have a question. The question will be answered, and they'll leave with more information, and they'll actually feel empowered.
Be sure to leave a rating and review of the show. And if you're looking for more visibility, be sure to download my free guide on how to increase your influence. It's called the Influencer's Guide. Simply go to veganvisibility.com/influencer. That's veganvisibility.com/influencer. Now, back to the show. I love that. And it's really, for me, I look at, the more I learn about health and nutrition through being a plant-based eater, and I was in bodybuilding 35 years ago, so it's not like I haven't been around it. But when the pandemic happened and the shutdowns happened, I had to stop working out. Well, I couldn't go to the gym. They shut those all down. And then 15 months ago, I broke my wrist. So that kind of put things, and it was interesting because it was not because of brittle bones. I had a freak accident where got hit on the back of the head with a canopy at an open event, and a gust of wind came up, knocked me flat on my face. And the surgeon said that I healed faster than just about anybody, which, I really think it's because of the way I eat. But as I went through this process and I looked at people my own age, I was saddened by the fact that most people have given up, whether they're young people, teens, in their early 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, into their 70s, and if they make it into their 80s. And they've just resigned themselves to the fact that they have to have pain, and they have to have suffering, and they have to have disease. And there was something going on recently with one of our pharmacies that shut down, and some woman was interviewed on the news. She was probably 100 pounds overweight, and she was talking about her heart meds, her insulin, her this, her that. And I thought, if she could discover a plant-based diet and the proper nutrition, what can you say to those people who they really think? Now, occasionally we get those kind of people listening to this show. Most of the people who listen to the show are very into plant-based eating, but they can get information that they can share with their families. So what can you share with people that might give them some hope that they don't have to live with all that pain and suffering? They don't have to live with that extra 50 to 100 pounds, and they can actually be very vibrant into their 70s and 80s.
Yes. So here's the thing. I think it's really best to meet people where they are as opposed to pushing your agenda on them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I really love. So, for example, a lot of times I meet most of our customers are not vegan. They just want to have a very healthy meal replacement option or a healthy snack. And I think for me, when I'm speaking with individuals, I can really connect, because most of the majority of my life, I was a meat eater. I ate more steak, medium rare ribeye than anyone. And the interesting thing is, especially if you're from the gym community, you're kind of confused, kind of caught up and stuck on your aesthetics, but you're not really getting your blood results and finding out, how the inside looks, as you mentioned earlier. And what I noticed is, when I was younger, I was in the gym, I looked fantastic, but I had high cholesterol, my kidney function wasn't optimal. When I went 100% plant-based, all of those blood results became optimal. And I think, for people, if they were to, for the, obviously those individuals who aren't 100% plant-based, if they start to just make small adjustments to their daily routine, they're going to notice that they're not only going to feel better when they go to the doctor. A lot of times people don't want to go to the doctor because you don't want to hear any bad news, right? But when they go to the doctor and they'll hear, oh, wow, your blood pressure is really great today, or your cholesterol numbers are down, they're going to be able to make that association with their diets, because really that's where it all is. So yeah, gone are the days where we're stuck with ailments. No longer. There's
Right.
so much information out there, which again is somewhat confusing, but I think the best thing is you find a social media influencer, you find a company or brand whose ethos that you really identify with, and you listen to what's saying, and then you look to apply, not just not just theorize, but you actually want to apply this knowledge that you're learning because you will understand it, you will feel it. And as you do with the plant-based energy that you have, it's unbelievable. It's incredible. So I do think it's important you meet the person where they are and you just let them know you do not have to live with any sort of diseases or
Right,
illnesses.
right.
You have to make simple changes.
Well,
That's all.
I love what you say about meet people where they're at, because when people choose to explore a plant-based lifestyle, it could be for their health. Initially, for me, it was for my health, even though I was rescuing animals. I was 6 months into my journey when I realized I'm actually vegan. And initially, I would not call myself vegan. It's like vegans are crazy. Now my
Right.
company is Vegan Visibility, my podcast show. I've got another podcast that it's called Vegan Visibility. I do a summit called Vegan Visibility. So I'm very open about that. But initially it was like, no, I can't do that. And some people, it is for the animals. Others, it's for the environment. So meet people where they're at. Now, I'm going to pick your brain here as a nutritionist and as a fitness expert. A woman my age, I turned 68 a few months ago, and I want to get back into weight training, but I've got the injury that I had surgery for, and I need to ease back into it because I'm the kind of person that I'll go in and I think, okay, I can start right where I left off, and that's not true. I know I'm going to hurt myself if I do that. So what's your advice to someone like myself who is in really good shape? I eat very healthy. I run on a regular basis, slow runner. I always come in last when I do a marathon. That's my claim to fame. But what can you recommend to somebody like me?
So someone like you, so there's a few different people. So some people, if they work out at the gym and they're able to hire a trainer, I think hiring a trainer is great, but also explaining to your trainer exactly what you're looking for, because health and fitness is a lifestyle. It's
Right.
not just it's not a fad. It's not something like you want to do this for the rest of your life. So the way I would look at it is, let's just, first of all, a woman your age is not old. So you also have to understand that as well, right?
Absolutely. I'm young.
Absolutely.
I'm young.
Absolutely. 100%. So you have at least another 40, 50 years in the gym, right? Or working out in general. But obviously, I would say number one is the diet, because with the diet, you transition the diet over, and I'd say diet is about 80%. The other 20% is if you can work out 5 days a week, that's great. If you can work out 4 days a week, but the intensity can start off lighter, but that's where a trainer really helps out,
Right.
because, you can do certain lifts. You don't have to necessarily lift 1,000 pounds in a bench press. It's not about that at all. It's having fitness routines that are functional, because you're reaching up in the cabinet, right? You're squatting down, right? So you wanna do those functional exercises, and you do want to push yourself. You do. Like, I think a lot of people are just happy with, I'd say in January and February, with buying the gym membership. So maybe they're eating well, but like they're just buying the gym membership for 2 months, and then they start to let life get in the way. You want to make sure that this is a lifestyle. So you know why you're doing this. You're doing this for the betterment of your entire life, not just to lose 5 pounds. And
Absolutely.
that's how you can continue to make this a lifestyle.
Absolutely. And, I've been involved in, oh gosh, my own health and fitness since my early 30s, because I actually have been in recovery for almost 39 years. And so prior to that, I was a couch potato. I was well over 220 pounds. I just lived a very unhealthy life. And then I switched to living a very healthy life, but I was extreme in what I did. So I've learned balance over the years. And speaking of which, if you could wave a magic wand and you could have people really be open to your information, what would be the one thing that you really wish that people would get, whether it be nutrition, the exercise, trying your products? And again, tell us how people can find you so they can try your products.
So you can go to greenregimen.com. You can go to Google and type in Green Regimen, and you'll probably see my face everywhere. If you live in Los Angeles, we're at a store called Air One Market. It's a very, very awesome luxury grocery store. But greenregimen.com, if you don't live in the Los Angeles area, is the best place. And Amazon as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. And again, we'll put that all in the show notes. So what is your wish for people so that they can actually have the experience like your mother had, where she lost the weight, she feels good today, she's reversed her cancer, she's living a vibrant life, and she has you to kind of guide her through that process. So what is your wish for people?
I'd say my wish for people is a few wishes, but the major wishes not to be confined by others' opinions and by others' thoughts. And what I mean specifically with that is, if you are, let's say, for example, all of us have some sort of illness that's hereditary, right? We all have something in our families. And as opposed to, like, so for example, my grandmother had kidney disease and she had diabetes. And I could have said to myself, well, you know what? It's in my family. I'm just going to live with that. No, perhaps now because I'm living in this time, my grandmother didn't live in this time. So I have accessibility to more information. And I do not want to have diabetes. I do not want to have any kidney issues. So therefore, if that's not what I want, then I need to make sure that I am finding resources that will help me prevent these type of issues. So I would say that the biggest wish for people is really to use your own sense. Don't necessarily take other people's opinions and place them on your own. And all of these illnesses that are currently rampant within our society, they can all be abolished by having a consistent plant-based diet. I mean, it's really the truth. I've seen it with myself. I've seen it with my mom. I've seen it with others.
Right.
It's really the truth.
Well, with that, when is it too young to start a plant-based diet? I actually talked to a doctor yesterday that he encourages families to raise their children as plant-based eaters, and he's very aware of all the nutritional needs. But in your opinion, and with the people that you've worked with in the gym, when is too young for plant-based eating?
That's such a great question. I've actually polled some parents who were vegan, and some of the vegan parents, they weren't too sure, so they didn't, they didn't transition their kids until they were like 9 years old. But I've spoken to actually more vegan parents who their kids have never had a taste of meat or fast food or anything. So I really believe that the best thing to do, so for example, if I were to have children, which I definitely expect to have, I will look to raise them vegan. And if I do notice that I'm not doing something correct, within their diet, and if they're having some sort of nutrient deficiency, then I'll look to, at that point, decide what we can do. But I think a lot of times we place all of these barriers in front of us, and we're thinking, oh, the kid's not going to get this, or oh, I'm deficient on protein. And the reality is we're not. I do believe that the child will look at the adult, and if certain food is in the house, then, they're going to eat that. So I don't believe at this point, according to a lot of parents that I've spoken with, there is an age that is too young.
Wonderful. And that's my opinion too, from the parents that I've talked to who are raising their children as plant-based eaters, and they're very healthy children, and they're making sure they get a balanced diet, enough protein, all the nutrients and all of that. So, that's why we turn to people like you to give us the guidance that we need in order to raise healthy families. And I just want to say thank you so much, Tyshawn. This has been delightful. And I want to remind people to go to your website, which is Green Regimen. That's greenregimen.com. We'll put that in the show notes. And Tyshawn, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to share your message with my community.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate that. I'm really happy to share your message with my community as well. Thank you.
Wonderful. Have a delightful day and be well.
Likewise. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you for your commitment to an ethical life through plant-based food choices. The kind of choices that are kind to your body, the environment, and most of all, animals. Be sure to leave a review and rating of the Plant-Based Eating for Health podcast show.